What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto was kidnapped by Temari and forced to be her desert prince? If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. Uzumaki Naruto was finally home after 3 long years. At the age of 16 he now stands 5 feet 6 inches. At a quick glance his basic appearance hasn't changed much. His wild blonde hair is still unkempt and kept out of his face by his forehead protector. The whisker-like marks on his cheeks are as dark, if not darker, than ever. While you can still tell it is Naruto, his uniform has changed quite a bit. The once blue forehead protector is now black, while his orange and blue jumpsuit has been changed to a less vibrant black and orange one. His face lost all the baby fat, and his muscles are more defined. He simply looked older. Naruto ran a hand through his wet hair, and stopped to breath in the slightly damp air, thanks to last night's rainfall. He looks up at the towering entrance to the hidden village of the leaf, and a fox-like grin appeared on his now matured face. "Are you going to stand there all day? Or are we going inside?" Jiraiya asks, breaking Naruto out of his daze. "Of course I'm going. I'm just taking everything in." Jiraiya cannot help from smiling at the boy. "No, I cannot think of him as that small, loud boy anymore. I don't even have to look down to see his face anymore. All of our training has really paid off. But out of all the training I have given you, Naruto, you've progressed the most mentally, in both maturity and intellectually." Lost in his own thoughts, Jiraiya failed to notice Naruto start walking into the village. "Come on, Ero Sennin, you're the one who said we should get going," Naruto yelled over his shoulder, his words dripping with excitement. "You go on ahead. I have business to attend to with the Hokage," and with that he disappeared in a puff of smoke. Naruto turned his attention back to the village. Who needs that perverted hermit anyways? I can't wait to see everyone. Punching a fist into the air, he took off running, ignoring the surprised guards at the front gate. "Hey, was that?" "Yeah, no doubt about it." The two guards looked at each other with a smile, then back at the strange boy with the spiky blonde hair. Naruto was excited. Scratch that, really excited to be back. He couldn't wait to see all his friends, and more importantly, to eat a couple of bowls of ramen at Ichiraku's. With his mind elsewhere, Naruto barreled oh so gracefully into a certain young boy wearing a rather long scarf. "Watch where you're going, you idi," the boy started to say, as he rubbed his sore arm. He stopped himself mid-sentence the second he saw that trademark spiral on the back of that young ninja's jacket. Naruto? Naruto Nichan. Konohamaru was, needless to say, very surprised and very happy to see him. Naruto slowly raised himself to his feet, rubbing his head. "Konohamaru, it's been a long time." Naruto looks his old friend over. "He has grown so much. He's taller than I was at that age." It was the gleam from the metal forehead protector that really caught his eye. "So you're a full-fledged ninja now. Congratulations, Konohamaru. I wish I had been there." Konohamaru gave a Naruto-like grin and a thumbs up. Then a wave of terror washed over his face and he started to run in the direction he was previously heading. "Sorry, Naruto Nichan, I was in the middle of a mission." And with that the young shinobi was gone. But before he could even have time to start moving again, he heard a voice calling to him. "Naruto-kun? The rumors are true, it's really you," screamed a beautiful ninja with shoulder-length pink hair, as she ran towards him. "Saw Sakura-chan?" was all he could get out before he was wrapped in an embrace. He clumsily returned the hug as best he could and looked down at his former teammate. "Wait, look down?" Almost as if reading his mind, she spoke. "Looks like you're taller than me now, huh?" "Naruto-kun." Sakura sighed into Naruto's jacket, unable to control her emotions. "Yeah, looks like it," he stated, looking down at the top of her head. After a few more seconds of holding the embrace, he pulled away. "When did you get back?" she stated, trying hard to take out the emotion in her voice. She hadn't seen him in 3 years. No letter, and no contact in 3 full years. "Just now actually. You're only the second person I've seen." He flashed her his fox-like grin. She was a bit taken back. Is this really Naruto? He's so different, not only mentally but physically too. She blushed a bit at that thought. "Do you think I look more womanly now?" she asks, with a slight red hue to her cheeks, posing a bit for him to make her point. "Very much so, Sakura-chan." She almost fell over herself with surprise. She was expecting him to say something stupid like, "You haven't changed a bit." Or just stutter and blush. But never did she think he would actually comment on it. "I am actually on my way to the Hokage's office to bring her some paperwork. Want to come along? We can catch up on the way." That sounds like a great idea, and with that they depart together to the Hokage office. "Welcome back to Konoha Naruto," Tsunade stated warmly, looking at the young man she met just 3 years prior. "Thank you, Hokage-sama." "What? No Granny Tsunade?" The buxom blonde let out a smile. "So Jiraiya trained him in more than just the way of the ninja. Let's get to the point, you two. I would like to see the results of your training." "Results of our training? How are we going to do that, sensei?" Sakura asks. "You will fight a certain Jonin. I made sure to give him no missions so he could rest up." She flashed them a devilish smile. They had no idea what was in store for them. Just then the door to the Hokage's office opened. Naruto recognized them instantly. "Shikamaru, look who's back." Sakura pointed at Naruto excitedly. "Oh, Naruto?" A smile formed on the genius face. "Hey, it's Shikamaru." Naruto smiled. He felt a little strange. He didn't expect this many people to be happy at his return. "Wait, is he our opponent?" "Opponent, what are you talking about?" Shikamaru was a bit confused now. "I just came by to pick up some documents. If it's not you, then it must be." He looked at the girl standing next to Shikamaru. She was extremely beautiful. At least, that's what Naruto was thinking. It took him a few seconds to stop staring and place her name. "Hey Temari, I guess it's you?" Temari really didn't know what to think. She hadn't even paid attention to the question he asked her. Her mind was elsewhere. "I can't believe that's the shrimp who beat Gaara. He is taller than me now. Just how much did he change? How much more powerful did he get?" She suddenly remembered a conversation she had with Gaara 3 years ago, about 4 months after his battle with Naruto. "I don't want to say this, Gaara, but the people of the sand only think of you as a weapon. To separate from me and Kankuro, your brother and sister. To just go into their midst out of the blue like this. It'll be hard. Too hard. The superiors don't think very much of you. When it come down to it, the majority of the village is still afraid of you." Temari cried out, trying to hold the tears back, but failing miserably. "I know, but, by just waiting, I get attacked by an even greater pain. All I can do is create my own path through hard work. Without being a loner and taking the easy route. So someday, I'll maybe be like." He paused, looking out over the cliffs off the sand to the great vast desert beyond. "So that's why I, as one of the sand's shinobi, aim to be Kage. To bond with and live for this village." Temari was speechless, wiping the tears from her eyes as Gaara continued. "Through hard work, I want to be respected by everyone. I learned that after seeing Uzumaki Naruto. But up until now, my bonds with others have been nothing but rage and murderous intent. Thought fighting him and seeing his will to save these bonds, I understand a little better. Hate, sadness and even happiness. To be able to share it with another person, that is a true bond. Uzumaki Naruto. From fighting with him, I think he taught me that. He knows pain like I did. And then, he taught me that you can change that path. I wish one day, that I can be needed by someone. Not as a weapon, but as the sand's cage." She felt like crying. She wanted to thank Naruto from the bottom of her heart for changing Gaara so drastically. She wanted to show him how much of his courage and tenacity rubbed off on other people. She wanted to tell him so many things, and ask so many questions she didn't know the answer to. But that's now how she worked. Plus she didn't want that idiot to get the wrong idea. She was brought out of her trance by the voice of Tsunade. "She is not your opponent either. Your opponent is there," she states as she points to the open window of her office. Confused, Naruto made his way over to the window. Peeking his head out, he looks around to find his mystery opponent. Finishing the last sentence in his book, Kakashi looked up. "Hello? Naruto." 2 men could be seen walking through the windswept desert. Black cloaks with red embroidered clouds blew in the mid-afternoon wind. "Are you going to be okay with just that bag?" the short hunched-back man asks, his gritty voice unexpected from his appearance. "Our opponent is a Jinchuriki." The tall blonde-haired ninja laughed with a slight crazed look in his eyes. "All of my techniques are works of art." A gust of wind blew, revealing 2 small pouches, one on each hip. "I am also carrying my specialty." The mysterious ninja unzips both pouches and snakes his hands inside. If one could see the inside of his palms, they would be quite surprised to see a mouth. The mouths opened and his hands began eating some of the contents of the bag. After all, we're just going up against a little shrimp. Hello, Naruto. Kakashi smiled through his trademark mask. Kakashi-sensei. Naruto jumped out of the window and onto the roof, running over to where Kakashi was currently sitting. I have a present for you. Naruto smiles and reaches into his side pouch, obviously looking for something. He pulls out a small book with a sky blue color. Nani? Kakashi stutters as he stares at the book in astonishment. It's the first book in the series in 3 years. It's not even in production yet. It's kind of boring, but I thought you would like it. Kakashi takes the book from Naruto as if it was a priceless artifact. He opens the front cover and a golden light, which only he could see, emanated from the pages. He closes the book and recomposes himself. Thank you very much, Naruto. No problem. Naruto flashed him his trademark grin. Then his brain catches up. Wait, you're our opponent? Naruto's jaw practically hit the floor. As did everyone else's, having walked to the window to watch the interaction. All were surprised except the Hokage, of course. Indeed. Well, we will begin tomorrow at the 3rd training ground. Naruto has been traveling and should get a good night's rest before we start. Kakashi stated. I am not tired, let's street. Before he could finish his statement, Kakashi disappeared in a puff of smoke. I wonder why he was in such a hurry. Temari spoke up. Everyone's face faltered. If you knew Kakashi, you would know he went off to read that book. After the meeting at the Hokage's office, the 4 young shinobi were now walking towards the center of the village. Naruto and Sakura were up front thinking of plans to take down Kakashi. Even with his newfound intellect and maturity, Naruto was still Naruto and his curiosity got the best of him. He looked over his shoulder at Temari and Shikamaru, and a fox-like grin spread over his face. He stopped and looked straight at the two. Sue, you two on a date? He drew out the last word for dramatic effect. What? You got to be kidding me. Why would I go out with someone like him? Temari steamed, pointing a shaking finger at Shikamaru. She's worse than my mother. How troublesome, Shikamaru sighed to himself. It's nothing like that. She is here as a representative from the sand. I have been assigned to be her guide while she's here preparing for the Chunin exams. Shikamaru countered. Temari nodded her head, her anger a thing of the past. Naruto sweat drops. What a dramatic change in mood. Although she's kind of cute when she's angry. What are you going to do about the exams, Naruto? Naruto, caught off guard, looked at Shikamaru. What do you mean? Well, you're the only one in our age group that's still a genin. Suddenly everything went black. The only one? Naruto's shoulders slumped downward. This one, pointing to Temari, Kankuro, and Neji, are already jonin. Shikamaru said. Naruto was quiet for a few seconds. Everybody, even you, Sakura? You're a Chunin? He looks back at her and she gives him a nod and the peace sign. Then it hit him like a brick wall. Gaara, what about Gaara? Keisuke-sama. A voice rang out into the audience chamber of the sand. Gaara nodded his head in understanding. I see. I've heard rumors of them before, but how do you know about this organization? Gaara asks the young Captain Yuri. I have received this information from Jiraiya-sama, one of the legendary Sannin. Mummers could be heard traveling around the room. Regardless how much power these shinobi may have, they are not going to be able to break into the sand through sheer force alone. Akatsuki members wear black capes with red clouds printed on them. I have ordered everyone to attack such a person with full force should they decide to show themselves. Is that so, Keisuke? Naruto's gaze fell upon the rock sculptures of the 4 Hokages. His fists visibly tighten and shake. Everyone waited for him to explode. But that didn't happen. Amazing. He must have worked so hard to get everyone to accept him. How did he do it in such a short amount of time? I have been trying all my life to be accepted by this village, but I still haven't fully succeeded. But I am not going to lose either. I'll work just as hard. Just wait and see, Gaara. I will defiantly become Hokage. I will be accepted by the people of my village, just like you did. For being the truly great ninja we are. Visibly shocked, everyone couldn't help but smile at the boy's outburst of emotions. Naruto, you can always put a smile on people's face. You can always turn situation in your favor, and you can inspire courage in other people. I missed that when you were gone, thought Sakura. Temari, on the other hand, was on the verge of tears for the second time in one day. The second time. How does this kid know so much about Gaara? He seems to know exactly what he has gone through. And how did he affect Gaara so much just by fighting him? She remembers the first time her brother ever apologized for anything in his life. It was right after his fight with Naruto. She wanted to know why. She had to know why. Why did he care so much? Before she could think any more on that subject, Naruto's voice broke the silence. So, who's up for some ramen? Naruto and Sakura were very agitated. He is still always late. You would think he'd have worked on that. Naruto shouted, pacing back and forth in front of the entrance to the third training ground. Sakura simply nodded her head in agreement. Suddenly there was a loud poof and a lot of smoke. Sorry, my bad. I had to finish up some documents for the Hokage. Kakashi stated from his perch in a nearby tree. Liar. The two shouted simultaneously, both pointing a shaking finger at Kakashi. Ha ha ha, you caught me. Kakashi smiled and rubbed the back of his head. Well, let's head out then. Kakashi made his way into the clearing of a training ground they all remembered. Naruto saw 3 logs sticking up from the ground. He walks over to the middle log and places a hand on it. His eyes glaze over as if remembering something from the past. This log seems so small. I can't believe I was tied to this once. He laughs, remembering their first real training session with Kakashi. The point of this exercise is for you to get these bells from me before noon. Kakashi shakes the 2 bells in his hand to emphasize his point. If you do not manage to get a bell from me, you won't get any lunch. A moan could be heard from the 3 new genin. You will also be tied to one of those logs and forced to watch me eat in front of you. Come to think of it, this was your first training ground, wasn't it? Kakashi remembered, looking at the 2 somber faces of his students. Yeah, that was back when we were Team 7. Sakura choked. This place stirred up some unwanted memories as well. Back then, we had Sasuke with us. The atmosphere had changed dramatically. Emotions ran high and the air itself felt heavy with despair. Sakura still remembered the day she couldn't stop Sasuke. Please don't go. A sobbing Sakura yelled out to the retreating back of Uchiha Sasuke. I'll scream if you try to leave. In the blink of an eye he was behind her. Sakura, she could feel his hot breath on her neck. Thank you. Naruto also remembered his failure to save his most treasured bond. Sasuke, why are you doing this? If you think of me as your closet friend, why? Why? Naruto growled in a fit of rage. A strange red chakra in the shape of a fox was surrounding the boy. I am an avenger. I must cast aside these bonds that have made me weak. You don't know the pain of losing bonds. You don't know the pain of losing your family since you've been alone from the start. Besides, I thought you hated me. Though I was your biggest rival. Sasuke taunted. The anger on the blonde-haired boy's face seemed to lessen to an extent. You were, but this is my first real bond. We always fought and competed against each other. But, that brought us closer. You were like a brother to me. That's why I came after you. That's why I will win. I must protect this bond. Naruto screamed, as he closed the distance between the Uchiha and himself. Kakashi noticing the instant change in atmosphere and regretted instantly saying anything about Sasuke. He looked upon his student with a sense of responsibility for what happened. If only. Could I have done anything to prevent this? Was I too hard with his training, too lenient? Kakashi shook his head. This was neither the time nor the place. He reached into his kunai pouch and pulled out 2 silver bells. He rang them a couple times to get his pupils' attention. Upon hearing the sound, both Naruto and Sakura looked over at Kakashi. Needless to say, they were not expecting this. Well, I'm going to see how much you 2 have improved. You haven't given up on Sasuke yet, have you? Kakashi states, trying to instill a little motivation in his students. No, of course not, Sakura boldly responded. That's the reason I've been training so hard. Naruto added, clenching his fists. Kakashi gave them an acknowledging nod and places the bells on his belt. The rules are the same as the first time we did this. You can use whatever trick you like, as long as you can get these bells from me. And don't forget, come at me, like we're going to kill you, Naruto interrupted. Or else we won't be able to get them. Right? Sakura finished. With a satisfied smirk Kakashi replied. Exactly. You won't be able to get them if you do not come after me with the intent of killing me. If you are going to punch me, know you're going to hit. You have until tomorrow. Naruto reaches up to his forehead protector and straightens the front. He reaches behind and makes sure it is tied in a secure knot. Sakura, on the other hand, reached into her pocket and pulled out a pair of leather gloves. She fits them on her hands with practiced ease and flexes her hands. "So, shall we begin?" Kakashi asks, finally closing the book Naruto had given him previously. "You aren't going to fight while reading that book this time, Kakashi-sensei?" Naruto smirks, finishing his adjustments on his forehead protector. "I have a feeling I will have to be serious this time." Kakashi reached up and pulled his forehead protector up, revealing his Sharingan. The gateway to the hidden village of the sand was relatively quiet. The Anbu team station at the front entrance seemed a little less than happy. The wind was blowing and there was a haze of sand as far as the eye could see. "This is pointless," sighed one guard. As if on cue, another guard spoke up. "What's that out there?" Out in the distance, two cloaked figures could be seen walking towards the entrance to the sand. Black cloaks with red clouds. "It can't be." There, paralyzed with fear, it took the sand shinobi a second to think of the best course of action. "I have to report this to Captain Yura immediately." He looked over his shoulder and realized he was standing right next to the man in question. "Captain Yura, the guys from that organization have appeared." "I know, don't worry, this will all be over soon," he says with a crazed look in his eyes. The two men walking to the sand knew they would not have any problem with the Anbu at the front gate. Yura would make sure of that. They continue walking until they reach the front of the pathway to the village. A blood-soaked Captain Yura awaited them. "Job well done, Yura," the gruff hunchbacked ninja said. "Thank you for your praise, Sasori-sama," the so-called captain of the sand shinobi said, as he bowed on one knee. "Here I go," Naruto said to himself. He turned his body to face away from Kakashi and slipped his hand into his shuriken pouch. Pulling out a few, he threw them at Kakashi. He easily ducked under the shurikens and threw some right back at Naruto. To dodge them, Naruto jumped into the air. Kakashi took that opening to throw 3 more shuriken in his direction. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, shadow clone technique. With that, a second Naruto appeared in mid-air. Grabbing the original, the clone pulled Naruto out of the way of the deadly shurikens. "Not bad," thought Kakashi, getting himself ready for another attack. "Nice." He used a shadow clone to maneuver in mid-air. "Surprisingly quick thinking, Naruto," Sakura said as she watched, also readying herself for battle. Kakashi was fast, but Naruto was on top of things. The second he landed on the ground, he turned his clone into a giant shuriken. Henge, transform. But it appears he may not have been quick enough. Kakashi reaches in and grabs his shuriken hand. He twists Naruto around, pushing down the back of Naruto's head with his free hand. "That's enough of that," Kakashi said. "He really has grown. I remember when I had him in this exact situation only." He looked behind him. There was the real Naruto with a kunai pointed at Kakashi's back. "Your timing with your shadow clones had improved as well." "That's not the only thing I've improved, Kakashi-sensei." Naruto smiles to himself. "While you have matured, you are still as impatient as ever." "I never even said start. Just like last time." "Well then, ready? Start." And then he was gone in a puff of smoke. "Damn, I've been tricked. It was a clone," Naruto yelled to no one in particular. "Naruto, you idiot," Sakura shouted. The dead bodies of Anbu-ranked shinobi littered the pathway into the hidden village of the sand. The 3 men began walking towards the village in complete silence. They proceeded until the buildings of the village came into view. The tall, unidentified blonde shinobi opened his palm. The chewing mouth within stopped, and spit out what appeared to be clay. He closed his hands once more around the clay, moving his fingers and molding what was in his hand. When he opened it, a perfect scale model of a bird could be seen. "Okay, it's ready." He proceeded to throw the little clay sculpture on the ground. "Master Sasori, you stay here and watch. I won't keep you waiting." He performs a few hand signs and the bird instantly quadruples in size, a size big enough for someone to ride on its back. Doing just that, the blonde ninja jumps onto the bird's back. "I'll attack the village from above." He smirks. "What do you think of my sculpture, master? Do not keep me waiting too long." Deidara simply smirks and takes off, flying over the houses of the unsuspecting sand citizens. Ichibi, One Tail, the Shukaku Jinchuriki, Gaara of the desert, I wonder what he will be like. Right? Nope. Above? Not there either. Left? No behind? I don't see him, so he must be below. With that, Sakura clenches her fist and punches the solid ground. What happened next was surprising to all watching. The ground was utterly destroyed. Dust and boulder-sized chunks were flying every which way. A good 50 feet of ground fully destroyed by one single punch. Naruto was actually knocked over by the ensuing shockwave. Once the smoke cleared, a very stunned Kakashi could be seen in the newly made fissure in the ground. What insane strength. It seems the fifth has been teaching Sakura more than just medical ninjutsu. He was brought back to reality by Sakura's voice. I found you, Kakashi-sensei. I have got to stop acting like such a fool in front of everybody. Was all Naruto could think of as he picked himself up off the ground. She focuses as much chakra as she can into her fist, and releases it all at once. Without precise chakra control, she couldn't do it. Medical techniques combined with amazing strength. She could even become a better female ninja than the fifth. Alright, now it's my turn. He jumps out of the fissure and runs for the woods. The basics for a shinobi are to conceal themselves. He stopped at the base of a tree and gave his surroundings a once-over. Suddenly 3 kunais stuck themselves into the tree, some 3 inches from his face. He pulls a kunai and looks up to see Naruto bearing down on him already with kunai drawn. Kunai meets kunai for a split second before they both land. Sakura walks out from behind a tree and stands next to Naruto. Shinobi Tactics Number 1, Taijutsu. With that, he runs straight at the 2 shinobi. He runs forward, throwing a punch to Naruto's face, which he dodges. Then a sideswipe kick to the legs, but Naruto jumps a little into the air and goes for a punch to Kakashi's stomach. But he was too slow and Kakashi had already dodged, coming back with another attack. Sakura had been waiting for this chance. Now while he's preoccupied, gotcha. She went in for a finishing blow, but he was too fast. If I can land one hit. She almost had him. Suddenly he was backed up against a tree. She reared up for one more punch but instead ended up punching, and in turn destroying, the tree behind him. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Many Naruto clones came down from the tree above him, which caught Kakashi off guard for a slight second. But he was still ready. The Naruto clones came at him, each trying their hardest to reach the bells, but each meeting the same fate. Clone after clone defeated. 3 clones jumped into the air to hide in the trees but was stopped by Kakashi. Naruto knew they were in trouble. Shadow dance? That's fuzzy eyebrows. Bandages came out of Kakashi's sleeves as they wrapped around Naruto. Bound tight, Kakashi flipped Naruto upside down and brought them crashing down to the earth head first. Kakashi's copy ninjutsu. Sakura gasped. Poof. The 3 clones collapsed. So where is the real one? Right here, sensei. Out of the bushes right behind Kakashi, Naruto ran out. Never announce your presence. With that, Kakashi grabbed Naruto and wrapped his arm around his neck, successfully putting him in a headlock. Up in a nearby tree, Naruto smirked. You fell right into my trap, Kakashi-sensei. Bunshin Daibakuha. Great exploding clone technique. Shit. The sound from the explosion could be heard at the village. Once the smoke cleared, you could see the damage was truly immense. There was a huge crater where Kakashi had once been. The trees were nowhere to be found. And it had to be, at least, 100 feet in diameter. That was a close one. Kakashi's sweat dropped. That was an immense explosion. I might have been seriously injured if I had not used the replacement technique at the last second. Single quote. No time to rest, sensei. Sakura yelled, running up to land a finishing kick. He jumped out of the way, while she slammed into a boulder and broke it in half. It's time for another lesson. Shinobi Tactics Number 2. Ninjutsu. He jumps back and begins forming the seals for a ninjutsu. Those seals. He is moving impossibly fast. I can't even see his hands. Naruto thought in amazement, but he couldn't dwell on the fact because the attack was already coming. Kaiten, Gukaku no Jutsu. Great fireball technique. Kakashi unleashes a huge fireball from his mouth, nearly getting both Naruto and Sakura in a single blow shot. But luckily Sakura had reacted faster than Naruto and had pulled him out of harm's way. Smoke billowed from the aftermath of the huge fireball. With that attack a failure, Kakashi looked behind himself and smiled. He jumped back and stood on the water of a small stream. He again began forming very complicated hand seals faster than the young shinobi opponents could react. Suiden, Suiryuden no Jutsu, Water Dragon Missile Technique. 3 huge water serpents rose from the stream. It rushed at the 2 ninjas, sweeping them up in the current, dragging them away from the battlefield. When the current finally let up, Naruto and Sakura decided they needed a new plan. Sensei's moves are too fast. We can't read them in time. We can't get those bells if we can't occupy both hands. Sakura stated. That's true, Sakura. But he must be tired. He has been using the Sharingan the whole time, it's almost morning. He must be low on chakra. If we can put him in a situation where he needs to use a lot of chakra to get out of, we can direct where he is concentrating. Sakura was impressed. She couldn't have come up with a better idea herself. Here's what I am thinking. It was now nightfall and Deidara could be seen flying effortlessly through the village. He had just taken care of the lackluster guards watching the sky. Nothing is quite as beautiful as my works of art. Deidara laughed, sticking his hands back into his bag of clay to refill. Infiltration successful, he thought to himself, as he landed on the roof of the main building. He looked up, and was surprised to see the face of Gaara. That's as far as you go. Where are you, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura was ready. Naruto really had thought of a brilliant plan. Simple, but she knew it would work. The two walked together around a tree. Naruto jumped and knocked Sakura to the ground. A kunai barely missed her head, simply cutting off a few strands of hair instead as she fell. They both rolled forward and reoriented themselves. It came from over there. Naruto thought and pointed Sakura in the direction. She ran over just to be punched in the stomach by Kakashi. She doubled over in pain and spit up a little blood. Naruto smirked. It's the real one. Naruto howled a battle cry and ran at Kakashi. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto made a single clone of himself, both running straight for Kakashi. You'll have to do better than that, Naru. Rasengan. Both Narutos formed a Rasengan and continued on their collision course with Kakashi. In Nani, when did he learn to do Rasengan without a clone's help? Never mind, teach a clone to do it as well. 2 glowing orbs of spinning chakra came at Kakashi. This is the end, Kakashi-sensei. Naruto screamed, throwing the spinning ball of destructive energy right at Kakashi. His eyes were open wide. I can't fully dodge in time. I'm low on chakra. Doden, Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu. Earth decapitation technique. A hand shot up from underground. But instead of reaching for Kakashi's leg to drag him underground, the hand reached up, and just barely managed to grab those pesky silver bells. The Rasengan in Naruto's hands disappeared, and Sakura jumped up from underground. She raised the bells and gave them a little shake. Looks like we win. Kakashi-sensei? Naruto said, with a huge fox-like grin spread across his face. I can't believe you actually got the bells from me. Never mind doing so as quickly as you did. Kakashi praised his students as they walked down the main street of Konoha. The sun was just beginning to rise, as if it was a prize for winning their match. What did you expect, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto smirked with both hands resting on the back of his head. We did train for 3 straight years under 2 of the 3 legendary Sannin. Kakashi-sensei. Sakura countered, smiling. Very true, very true. Kakashi could not help but be very proud of his student. Being proud put aside, what amazing progress. I have a strange feeling that they even held back. Kakashi shuddered at the thought. They used to be cute back then, hanging on my every word. But now I have little more I can teach them. These 2 are easily on par, if not more, powerful with most Jonin-ranked shinobi are now. And I am making that assumption without having seen all of their new techniques, I'm sure. The only thing keeping them from surpassing even me is speed and their lack of battle experience. Both of which can only come with practice and time. They have been through a lot, I will say that much. But nothing on the scale they need. But I have a feeling that will change very soon. Kakashi flexed his left hand. His whole body was still a little sore from using so much chakra. He could see the fatigue on Sakura's face as well. Naruto on the other hand. Let's go out for breakfast, I'm starving. Kakashi's sweat drops. That boy sure does have a lot of stamina. Sakura was thinking along the same lines as Kakashi. Actually, Naruto, I must be going. I have to report your results back to the Hokage. Which in fact was a lie, since the Hokage had watched the entire match from the sidelines. With that he was gone. He should really just tell us he's gonna go read his book. It's not like we'd be mad. Naruto said, turning to Sakura, who fully agreed. A low grumble could be heard and Naruto looked down at his dissatisfied stomach. Let's go get some breakfast, Sakura-chan. Sakura simply rolled her eyes. He has such a one-track mind. While your insane stamina kept you going all night, I am drained. I think I'm going to go home to catch a quick nap while it's still early. Naruto tried to hide his disappointment. He hated eating alone. Alright, Sakura-chan, I'll catch up with you later today then. Naruto sighed as Sakura walked away. Later, Naruto. Sakura smiled over her shoulder. Naruto waved back. Now he had to decide where he would get some breakfast. He decided the best course of action was to just wander around until he found a nice place. It was still really early in the morning and the sun was just beginning to meet the morning sky. Not that many places would be open this early, so he really couldn't be too picky. After a few minuets, he happened to come upon a small tea house that appeared to be open. This place must be new. I don't remember this being here. Naruto made his way through the doors and took a seat at the table closest to the window. A bubbly waitress came hurrying over to the table. Hello and welcome. You are our first customer today. Will you be dining alone today? The bubbly girl smiled down at Naruto. The blonde-haired shinobi shot her a look that quickly answered her question. Well then, can I take your order? Yes please. Could I get the miso soup, a small order of steamed rice? And some tea? The waitress nodded her head and bowed a little. Within a few minutes Naruto was enjoying his meal. Suddenly the door to the tea house opened. Naruto turned his attention away from his delicious soup to see who else would possibly be up at this hour. Needless to say, he was surprised to see who it was. Aquamarine met deep blue, as Naruto caught Temari's eyes. Tea, Temari? Naruto exclaimed, a slight blush forming on his whisker-clad face. This is the first time he can remember seeing her without something much bigger on his mind. Whether it was the Chunin exams, or some sort of mission, he never really had the chance really look at her. The sand ninja was beautiful. Her blonde hair was still tied in her signature 4 ponytails, but he noticed it was a bit longer than it used to be. A few stray hairs falling down over her forehead. Her forehead protector was still wrapped loosely around her neck. Her aquamarine eyes stand out brightly against her slightly tanned skin. Her old outfit has been replaced with a dark blue kimono with a red sash. Naruto scolded himself as his eyes started to head lower than her face. Temari was a little uncomfortable under Naruto's gaze, and she didn't really know why. Before she could yell at him for staring, he called out. Hey Temari, care to join me? I hate eating alone. Naruto smiled. He didn't really know why he offered. But he really did hate eating alone. It reminded him of his younger years. His life before he had any true bonds. Temari was caught off guard. She wasn't expecting that. Forgetting her anger, she mumbled something along the lines of, sure, and made her way over to Naruto. She took the large fan off her back and placed it against the table. She then took the seat across from Naruto. Just then, the bubbly waitress came back. So, you lied when you said you were dining alone. Huh? The waitress said with an innocent smile. Naruto tried his best to stammer a defense. Well, I never really said I was dining alone, you just assumed. Plus I didn't know she was coming. Naruto continued to mutter different defenses while the waitress took Temari's order. Thank you, the waitress said with a bow. I'll leave you two to your date. Leaving the flustered teens behind, feverishly denying her accusation. Recomposing himself, Naruto tried to break the awkward silence that now fell upon them. So what are you doing up this early? Naruto inquired, returning some of his attention back to his food. Well, I'm heading back to the sand today, and the trip takes 3 days. So I wanted to get an early start. What about you, Naruto? She asks, thanking the waitress who just dropped off her tea. Well, we just finished our match with Kakashi-sensei. Temari thought back to midday yesterday at the Hokage's office. Oh yeah, I remember the Hokage telling you about that. How did it go? Taking a sip of her tea, she looked over at Naruto. We beat him, of course. Temari almost spit out her tea. They beat Kakashi? Just how strong did they get? I was expecting them to do good against him. I wasn't expecting them to win. Amazing. She smiled. That is no small feat. Kakashi's skills are well known even in the sand. Now it was Naruto's turn to be surprised. He wasn't used to compliments from anyone, other than his close friends. Thanks, but it was no big deal. Naruto confidently smirked. I see. Temari couldn't help but smile back. His smile was contagious. I'm beginning to understand, Gaara, how he changed you so. He just has this natural skill to instill courage and happiness in others. I don't know how. I want to know though. Hey Temari? She was brought out of her thoughts by Naruto's voice. I didn't get a chance to tell you before. Congratulations on becoming a Jonin. You must have worked hard. Temari did well to hide her blush, but it was still there nonetheless. Thank you. A giant clay bird could be seen flying in the skies above the hidden village of the sand. So you are the Jinchuriki, Gaara of the desert, huh? You'll have to do better than that to get me. Deidara yelled to Gaara. Gaara's face in turn was filled with anger. I do not know what your business here is. But I will not let you go any further. He moved his hand to the left and the sand that had been following Deidara suddenly sped up. Tisk, this boy is better than I though. But no matter, Deidara opened his palm to reveal 4 small bird-like sculptures. He threw them into the air, dodging the sand attacks easily. The 4 birds were then brought to life with a hand sign. They rocketed towards Gaara. Gotcha, thought Deidara. 4 explosions could be heard rumbling through the village. What? Deidara looked on, as most of his explosions were blocked by the sand that had just recently been attacking him. While the remaining one hit what appeared to be a force field of sand. I guess my normal attacks won't be too effective against this opponent. Without missing a beat, Deidara reached into his clay bags and proceeded to make more of his minions. I see. So you use some unknown technique to infuse clay with your chakra to make it explode. Generally a very impressive technique, but it won't work against me. Gaara yelled to the Akatsuki member. We'll see about that. He opened his hand and a weird-looking bird with 4 wings could be seen. He threw them into the air and made that same hand sign. The birds came to life and flew right for Gaara. They were much faster than the previous ones. This time, the sand Gaara was using to fight with was not fast enough to block them. But they met the same fate as the previous birds, as they hit his absolute defense. I already told you, your technique will have no effect on me. It's time to end this. The sand that had been used to protect himself when things got too close to him, charged into attack. Shit, this sand is even faster. It's laced with his chakra. This must be the sand that he constantly carries with him in his gourd. He uses the bird to fly high into the sky, weaving in and out of the sand, trying desperately to capture him. The gourd sand was closing in on Deidara. It was simply too fast for him. Deidara turned a sharp right as 2 streams of sand trying to catch him crashed into each other. See, that wasn't that AUHH, he looked down to see his right arm was covered in sand. It was simply too fast to dodge. Sabaku Soso. Desert funeral. Blood flew out from the sand. Deidara's arm was crushed. That was the end. Gaara stated, don't get too full of yourself. With that, Deidara pulled with all his strength and actually pulled his arm off his body. Now without an arm, Deidara was angry. I will just have to use my specialty now. He reached into his clay pouch with his remaining arm. Just enough, he thought. He squeezed the clay in his hand and opened it. It was a strange-looking sculpture with what appeared to be a large open mouth. He threw it into the air and preformed a slightly more complicated hand sign. The sculpture grew in size to be bigger than even the bird he flew on. Deidara smirked. Looks like I win. With that, he dropped the giant bomb. Gaara watched in horror as it made its way to the ground. The blast will decimate this city. What a shame. The architecture is truly artistic. The explosion was, as he said, truly immense. The blast was hundreds of feet in diameter. The sound could make one deaf, and the light made the sun seem dull. Thousands would have died, had it not been for Gaara. The townspeople who came out to watch their cage fight to protect the city looked on in awe. As a shield of sand bigger than the diameter of the blast was protecting the people. Gaara, on the other hand, was breathing heavily. Creating a shield that big had used a great amount of chakra, but he was sure his enemy was also almost out of after that attack. He would have to end this with the next move. Gaara took a deep breath and sent out all of his gourd sand after Deidara. Deidara meanwhile was in shock. He blocked my specialty? With sand? He looked over just in time to see a wave of sand coming at him. Shit, Sabaku Soso. And Deidara was consumed by sand and crushed. But there was no blood. The sand exploded outwards. An exploding clay clone? Where did the real one go? Temari looked out the window. The sun has long since risen. The day was clear with only a few big fluffy-looking clouds. It was all sunlight and blue skies, truly a beautiful day. but she had an uneasy feeling she couldn't quite place. "I'm sorry to say, Naruto, but I must be on my way," Temari said, as she stood up. Grabbing her fan, she swung it over her back and adjusted its position. "Want me to walk you to the front gate?" Naruto blurted out. Again, he wasn't sure why he offered, but he felt it would be rude not to ask. "Sure, if you want." Naruto smiled and jumped up from his seat, only to trip over his own feet and land face first on the ground. OWWW. Damn it. He looked up to see Temari. What he saw surprised him. She was laughing. Temari, the fierce female sand shinobi, was laughing. "Common klutz boy, I don't have all day," she said between laughing. She put her hand out to help him. Naruto looked at her face, then back to her hand. He reached out to take hold, and with a pull he was now back on his feet. He looked at their still connected hands, and a strange voice told him not to let go. He pushed said voice away and let go of her hand. "Well, let's go, Naruto." The two made their way out of the tea house and began walking towards the front gate of Konoha. "You know, Naruto, I think you should go for the Chunin exams this year. You are probably of Jonin level, but you're still a genin. If you get your act together you could do it easily," Temari stated. Naruto's gaze fell upon the morning sky, a thoughtful expression set upon his features. "Yeah, I have been thinking about that a lot recently. I mean, everyone else in my age group is a Chunin or higher. My dream is to become Hokage someday. But right now that dream is unimportant. I can't waste my time chasing my dreams if I can't even help my friends." He closes his eyes and takes a deep breath. "Sasuke, if I don't even try to save my teammates, how can I consider myself worthy of any title other than genin?" He turned to Temari, who wore an unidentifiable expression on her face. "That's why I promised myself, I can't rest until I save my friends. Until I save everyone I care about. Becoming a Jonin would be great, but I just don't have the time right now." He flashed her his fox-like grin. Temari had no idea what to think. Where does he get this strength of spirit? What an amazing guy. He acts nothing like I thought he would. Temari looked up to see they were already at the gate. "I guess this is goodbye for now, Temari," Naruto said. "I guess it does." She turns from the blonde-haired shinobi and starts walking past the gates. She felt almost sad that she had to leave now. "I'll see you during the Chunin exams," Naruto shouted at the retreating female ninja. Temari didn't want to look back. She lifted her hand and gave him a wave. "Yeah, until then." Deidara could be seen staggering towards the entrance to the sand. "Master Sasori?" Deidara spoke, stumbling over to his master. "You kept me waiting. Where is the Jinchuriki?" he asked, in a slightly annoyed manner. "I was ill-prepared. I could not beat him. But next time." Deidara looked down at the ground. "Next time? You know there will never be a next time. Deidara, failure is not acceptable in Akatsuki. You know that." With these words his cloak flew open and two kunai shot out. They found their mark in Deidara's chest. "You of all people know of the poison on those kunai. I would normally let you suffer. See how long you could last with my poison running through your veins. But you know too much. We can't have you captured and interrogated by the enemy now, can we?" A giant metallic tail could be seen emerging from the back of his cloak. With a flick the tail went sailing through the air straight for Deidara's heart. Deidara's eyes widened and shut, expecting the death that was sure to come, but it did not hit its mark. He was saved at the last minute by a sand shinobi with purple face paint. Attacking a comrade is despicable, even if he is an enemy. "I won't let you kill this man." Kankuro looked down at the man he just saved. "Plus we need information from this one and we can't well get it if he is dead." "You are the Jinchuriki's brother, are you not?" Sasori states, looking over at Kankuro. The metallic tail glinted in the mid-morning light. Sasori waved the tail behind him menacingly. "So what if I am?" Kankuro growled, grabbing two of the three scrolls tied to his back. "That makes things much easier for me. Since Deidara failed in retrieving his tailed demon, this village will be very hard to break into the same way. Therefore making this, Gaara, much harder to get our hands on. And what better way to do that than to kidnap or kill the ones he loves? I am still debating which would work better. Would his taste for revenge drive him to chase after us? Or would it work better if he had some small hope that he could save you?" A maniacal grin spread across his face. "Either way I have to thank you. You saved me the trouble of having to search for you. Once I am done here, I am sure my fellow members will have already found that sister of yours." Konkuro's face twisted up in a mixture of rage and fear. I have already sent them a message of that one's failure. So they should already be on the move. Sasori shot Deidara a maniacal smile. Well, shall we begin? You'll pay for this. Konkuro shouted, summoning two his puppets from the scrolls on his back. Let me show you my puppet show. Naruto was in a rather good mood. Although he had originally wanted to eat breakfast with Sakura-chan, he was instead joined by the blonde-haired sand shinobi Temari. He was expecting it to be kind of awkward, but it was a lot more relaxing and comfortable than he hadn't even realized that they talked for over 2 hours. He never had anything against the sand ninja, but he never imagined himself spending that much time with her. Which is why he was so confused right now. He couldn't stop thinking about her, and he wanted to spend more time with her. What a weird day, Naruto thought as he made his way to his house. I guess I should just go home and take a shower. Hey Naruto. Naruto looked forward at the mystery caller. He had his brown hair back in a ponytail, and a long scar across the front of his face. Iruka-sensei. Naruto ran over to the man he thought of as a father. Long time no see, Naruto? I heard you were back in town. Yeah, I'm sorry for not finding you sooner, but I had a lot on my mind. Naruto shuffled his feet a little. It's all right, Naruto. You have grown really tall. I bet you've become a great shinobi. Iruka smiled at the young teen. Of course, what would you expect from the future Hokage? Naruto looked around and realized they were standing right in front of his house. Were you waiting for me? Naruto asked his former academy teacher. Oh yes, I was told by the Hokage to relay a message. You are to report to my office at noon today. I have already contacted Sakura, so do not worry, he said using his best Hokage impression. Naruto just proceeded to whine. Already? But I haven't even taken a shower yet. Don't worry Naruto, it's only 11, you have plenty of time. Naruto huffed and made his way to his door. Alright, I'll talk to you later, Iruka-sensei. Don't forget you're treating me to ramen when I become a chunin. He smiled his fox-like grin and ran inside. Same old Naruto, Iruka thought as he walked back to the academy. Sasori loomed over the Konkuro's broken puppets. How did he know everything about my puppets? It's like he knew all of their tricks and abilities. Konkuro cursed under his breath, stumbling back as Sasori made his way towards him. You are probably wondering how I read your attacks so easily. It's simple to understand your puppets' tricks. If you are their creator. Why, you're Sasori of the Red Sand? So you know of me? Even a runt like you? With that, his metallic tail whipped out and wrapped around Konkuro. He began gasping for air, trying desperately to break free of the tail. It's no use. You cannot escape. The less you struggle, the more chance you have of living. Sasori's eyes were crazed and his voice of thick with depravity. Do not forget I am still debating whether or not I should kill you or take you alive. Taking you alive is the best way to bring out Gaara, but it would be such a hassle to carry you. He laughed. Suddenly a kunai was sent through the air trying to find its mark in Sasori's neck. With a flick of his tail, the kunai was sent ricocheting away. I am surprised you had the strength for that, Deidara. I didn't know you wanted to save this sand shinobi. Fuck that kid, I was just trying to kill you. He wheezed, holding his chest. The poison was working quickly and he was barely able to move. Soon the poison will paralyze most of your body. You won't be able to speak. You will barely be able to breathe. I think I'll leave you here to be tortured. You can't give up any information if you can't even move. Hey, I heard something over there. Quickly before they get away. A distant voice shouted. Looks like I'll have to end this sooner than I meant to. Just while it was getting fun. With that, the metallic tail dug a little deeper into Konkuro. Shit, there is poison on the tail too. But it was too late. The tail had already cut into him and the poison made its way into his bloodstream. You're lucky those Anbu fools found us so quickly, or I probably would have killed you. But it will be so much fun to watch them feebly try to chase after you. Plus the poison will make you much easier to deal with. You'll live for another day. Sasori turned around and began making his way out of the village of the sand. The traps I set up at the entrance should keep them from following immediately. Soon he was in the desert on his way back to meet with his fellow Akatsuki members. Case Cage-sama. Baki came running into the Case Cage's office panting for breath. Any luck with the search of the city? Gaara said, looking out the window at the village he just saved. His expression was hard to discern. Baki's face fell. This was going to be hard on Gaara. We found the ninja that attacked you. Gaara's ears perked up at hearing this. But he was badly wounded. He seems to have been attacked by his own accomplice. He is not mortally wounded physically, but he has apparently been poisoned very badly. We have a medical team working on it right now, but they have yet to learn anything of the poison. It is apparently a new unknown poison. I see. What about his accomplice? Kankuro tried to stop him. But at the site all we found was his broken puppets. We could not find a body. He got away through front entrance. We tried to pursue, but the assailants thought ahead and set traps at the entrance. We have lost the trail. Gaara's face faltered. Gaara's blood boiled with the well-known feeling of intense hatred and anger. But he also felt an intense pain in his heart, a feeling he opened himself to the second he reconnected with those around him. He felt intense fear for another human's life. Gaara was scared for his brother. Quickly, set up a search team and have them sent on their trail immediately. Tell them to pursue but not to engage. Also, send our fastest bird to leave. Tell them of what's happened and request backup. Gaara suddenly realized that him and Kankuro weren't the only ones in trouble. Tell them to keep Temari there. She's safer among other shinobi. As you wish, Kage-sama. With a bow, Baki left quickly. Stay strong, Gaara. He thought, looking back over his shoulder he could see Gaara looking out over the village he had worked so hard to save. His fists clenched, but his face was hidden. Don't do anything rash. Naruto ran a hand through his now clean hair. Ah, that feels better. He stretched his arms over his head and looked out his window. With another stretch he jumped up and crouched in his window. Leaping out he jumped onto the roof of the nearest building. I forgot how much I missed doing this. He thought as he jumped from rooftop to rooftop, making his way to the Hokage's office. He looked overhead to see a large bird flying through summer sky. He smiled and continued on his way. Taking one last running leap he landed in front of the Hokage's office. I guess I am a little early. He looked around and shrugged his shoulders. He made his way into the building in front of him. Sitting on a chair, Sakura was waiting for him. Hey Naruto. Oh, hey Sakura-chan. Naruto walked over to where she was sitting. I was waiting until you got here to head to Tsunade-sama's office. She stood up, brushing the wrinkles out of the front of her dress. Let's get going then? With that the two headed out. It wasn't long before they reached the main office. They knocked on the door and a voice could be heard from the inside. You're early, that's not like you two. The voice of the Hokage could be heard through the door. Come in, come in. They opened the door to see Kakashi and Tsunade. Hey Kakashi-sensei. Hello Hokage-sama. They both said, bowing slightly. Hello you two, she stated with a wide smile on her face. I would first like to congratulate you two on your victory. It was quite a battle to watch. Naruto and Sakura looked at each other, then turned to Kakashi. I thought you had to report your findings to the Hokage. Sakura said in a sickeningly sweet voice. Kakashi's sweat dropped. You see, well, you got me. Kakashi could not think of a way out of this situation. Tsunade just sat back and watched the copycat ninja try to talk his way out of the situations he put himself in. She smiled to herself. But here happiness was short-lived. The door to her office shot open and an Anbu member ran in out of breath. Hokage-sama, we just received this message from the sand. It's a Class A emergency message. The atmosphere in the room instantly darkened. Bring it here quickly. The Anbu messenger handed the message over to the Hokage, who proceeded to read it over quickly. The sand's cage was targeted by Akatsuki. Naruto's face fell. Gaara, what happened to Gaara? It says here that Gaara fending off the attacking members. But apparently Akatsuki members are not beyond kidnapping, and Gaara's brother Kankuro has been taken. Naruto growls and clenches his fists. Does it say anything else? He asks through clenched teeth. They have asked for a medical ninja to heal one of the assailants. Apparently, he was attacked by his fellow Akatsuki member. They would also like us to inform Temari not to leave, for it is not safe for her to travel alone at this time. Naruto instantly froze, remembering all too well bidding the blonde ninja farewell at the front gate. We have to leave now. Temari is in trouble. She already left early this morning. We have to catch up with her. Naruto screams, running out of the room, leaving the voices of protest behind him. Sakura, Kakashi, I am giving you a S-class mission. Travel to the sand and help them in any way that you can. Sakura, your medical skills will be appreciated, and Kakashi, I want you to keep both of them safe. Now go. Don't let Naruto get too far away from you. Naruto couldn't believe it. He couldn't stop thinking that if he had just come out and told her to stay longer she wouldn't be in danger. What am I thinking? How could I possibly know this would happen? His whole body was shaking slightly. Why am I getting this mad? Why am I this scared? He looked ahead to the gates he was at just this morning. I'm coming, Temari. I will defiantly bring you back. Naruto blew past the gate guards and made his way to the village of the sand. Meanwhile, Sakura and Kakashi were a few steps behind Naruto. They came up to the gate and the guards yelled out, "Naruto just ran past us. I'm sorry we couldn't stop him. We had not time to react." "It's alright. We'll get him." Kakashi smiled at the two guards. Pulling up his lopsided forehead protector, Kakashi revealed his Sharingan. "Let's go." They began running after Naruto. Temari could be seen walking through the delicate foliage and maple-dappled sunlight. She was still running through the morning in her mind. She really hadn't planned on staying so late. But something, or really, someone kept her there. She was a sand shinobi. She shouldn't have any of these feelings and regrets. At least that's what she thought. She thought back to the point when Naruto fell over himself, and couldn't help but let out a little laugh. She looked down at her hand and it still felt warm to the touch. What is this feeling I have? Do I? Before she could finish the thought, two men walked out from behind a tree. One was carrying a large bandaged sword, while the other had piercing red eyes. "You are the sister of the Jinchuriki, Gaara, are you not?" The mystery man in a black cloak with red embroidered clouds spoke up. His red eyes seemed to pierce right into her soul. Temari reached back and took hold of her fan. "I am. What's it to you?" The red-eyed shinobi raised his eyebrow. "Well, that was easy. You seem to be cooperating, so maybe we won't kill you." Temari just laughed, a bead of sweat trailing down the side of her face. "I won't be that easy to capture," she yells, taking a step back and pulling her fan out. 3 dots could be seen on the fan's face. "Take this." She swings her fan and a giant gust of high-velocity wind made its way towards the two men. It did not hit. She looked around to try and find her attackers. Before she could find them, she felt a sharp pain in her stomach and looked down. To find the fist of the red-eyed one buried in her stomach. "You have no chance of defeating us. Your younger brother was lucky to avoid capture. But your older brother was not so lucky," he added with a smirk. A few drops of blood splattered on the ground. Temari wiped some of the blood away from her mouth with her thumb. "Like I said, it won't be that easy to defeat me." She jumped away from the man and began performing the correct summoning seals. But before she could even get past the first hand signal, a fist connected with the side of her face. She was sent flying through the forest and did not stop until she struck a tree. The ninja with the large sword smirked at his handiwork. The man with red eyes began advancing on the sand ninja's position. "See? You cannot match us. Now come with us and we will not kill you." He was about to reach down when a huge semi-solid red mass grabbed a hold of him and threw him back. Temari was glad to whatever it was that saved her. But this terrible feeling it gave her. Temari looked up, very surprised to see Naruto. She almost got up to hug him, but wait, there is something wrong with Naruto. The whisker marks on his cheeks were much darker. His eyes were sickly red slits. She missed the deep blue that usually graced his face. The biggest change was the disgusting red chakra around his body. It was in the shape of a fox. He seemed to have 3 tails, but it looked like a 4th was making its way to the surface. "Uchiha Itachi." A deep, almost demonic voice came out of Naruto's mouth. "You killed your own family. No, Sasuke's family. You don't deserve to call them family. You ruined my first bond with another person, and you tried to hurt Temari-chan. I will fucking kill you." He growled as the 4th tail forcibly sprung forward, while a 5th began to bubble forth. Naruto began bleeding slightly, trying desperately to control the power of this insane chakra. With a roar, Naruto shot forward with blistering speed, catching Itachi off guard yet again. With a sickening noise, Naruto's fist connected with Itachi's forehead protector, which cracked in half and fell to the floor. "You don't even deserve to wear anything that came from the leaf." Naruto snarled, barely able to control the 5th tail from coming forth. Sakura and Kakashi caught up just in time. They felt a strange chakra and they knew something bad had happened. But neither expected to see what they did. "Naruto, what?" Sakura fell onto her knees. It was just like before. She couldn't control her emotions. "Get up, Sakura. You're stronger than that now." Sakura rose to her feet and took a deep breath. Ah, the Nine Tails demon container, Uzumaki Naruto. Temari and Sakura both gasped. What are you talking about? Sakura screamed. It was Naruto who responded. It's no surprise you didn't know, Sakura-chan. Only the eldest in the village know about me. I am the container to the nine-tailed fox demon. Naruto spat, talking about the fox demon. Sakura didn't know what to say. All those times that she called Naruto selfish, made fun of him for being alone. All those times she gave him such a hard time. She had gotten stronger, but this was almost too much. Tears began leaking from her eyes. Temari was in a similar state of shock. It's so clear now, why he knows so much about Gaara. They've been through the same pain. The same segregation from society. How can people be so cold, why? With a newfound strength, Temari managed to get to her feet. She needed to do this. She would fight with Naruto. She walked forward a few feet to where Naruto was standing. He needs to calm down. He won't be able to think clearly if he is this mad. She didn't know what to do, but what she did do was a surprise to everyone. She wrapped her arms around his waist and hugged him from behind. Thank you, Naruto, for saving Gaara, and for saving me. Naruto was shocked. He was stiff in her arms. He didn't really know what to do. But he looked forward to see Itachi picking himself up off the ground. He knew exactly what he had to do. He turned around to look Temari in the eyes. I haven't saved you yet. But I defiantly will. I promise. With that he turned around. Now a little more confident, and a little more in control. He was ready. Let's go, Uchiha Itachi. Let's go, Uchiha Itachi. Naruto yelled, readying himself in a battle position. His four chakra tails glowing ominously bright in the midsummer's day heat. You Uchiha Itachi. So that is Sasuke's brother? Sakura gasped. All these stimuli were taking a large toll on the young pink-haired shinobi. She has learned so many things in the last few hours. Naruto has been targeted by Akatsuki for over 3 years and she didn't even know. Not only that, but he has the nine-tailed fox sealed inside him. To make matters worse, Gaara and his brother are in trouble. Now the man that caused Sasuke so much pain is here to kill or kidnap Temari. It was hard to register all of this. But she had time to reflect on this later. She's not the same shinobi she used to be. The battle is all that is important now. It was Kakashi who spoke next. Naruto, don't look straight into his eyes. Look to his feet to trace his movements. Do not underestimate your foes. They are S-rank criminals. This won't be as easy as that first attack. Naruto growled. He knew that. He watched as Itachi finished brushing off the dust on his clothes. So, you have grown much stronger since our last meeting. Good, good. Maybe this time it will be more fun. With that he was gone. Everyone looked around to see where he went. No one could follow his movements other than Kakashi. Naruto, behind you. Naruto looked behind himself, just to receive the oncoming fist full force in the face. He was sent flying backwards, and Itachi wasted no time. Kaden. Gokakyu no Jutsu. Itachi sent a gigantic fireball headed towards Naruto. He had no time to dodge. However, 2 chakra tails knocked the large fireball away from him and towards Kisame. Kisame simply sidestepped out of the way. This is quite interesting. Maybe I'll just watch for a little longer. Kisame thought amusedly. Kakashi on the other hand was getting ready to intervene. I can tell Naruto has grown much more than we thought. But he can't beat Itachi by himself. He'll get killed. He used this opening to attack the unsuspecting Itachi. Only to narrowly dodge Kisame's huge sword. Where do you think you're going? Kakashi-san. Kisame smirked. That chakra of yours is impressive. Well, it is not really yours, but nonetheless. It is truly the most powerful tailed beast. Naruto growled and ran at Itachi. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto made 5 clones of himself. What a useless technique. Itachi simply sighed, readying himself in a battle position. With lightning fast movements he rushed at the clones. Tripping one, it fell and poofed out of existence. Itachi's fist came in contact with another one of the clones, leaving 3 left. Naruto watched from his position high in a tree. I'm beginning to see his lightning fast movements. I still don't think I could dodge them. But now is as good a time as any. Bunshin Daibakuha. Itachi was just about to connect and destroy one of the other clones, when the 3 Narutos around him glowed brightly and exploded with amazing force. Temari, Kakashi, and Sakura backed up and looked on in awe. The three of them ran back and put their arms out in front of their bodies, readying themselves for the shockwave. Ground Zero was devastated. Nothing was left but dirt, boulders and debris from the destroyed trees. Naruto jumped down to the edge of the crater to inspect his handiwork. TSSH, I could have made it bigger. Before he could say another word, a voice from behind brought him back to reality. Doing useless things again, are you Naruto? Naruto's eyes widened, and a mixture of anger, fear, and surprise could be seen etched on his face as he turned around to look in the direction of the voice. There stood a man with piercing red eyes. Sasuke? Once the dust settled, Temari was quick to reevaluate her surrounding. She couldn't see Itachi or Naruto anywhere. However, the man with the large bandaged sword was still there, stopping any attempt to find Naruto. Kakashi, you and Sakura cover me. I'll go find Naruto and see what happened. Besides, someone needs to be near Naruto at all times to help if he is caught in a genjutsu. Quick thinking Temari. Kakashi replied, I wish I could help you Naruto, but I can't leave Sakura and Temari alone to fight this guy. Quickly, we will distract him. Kakashi nodded to Sakura. Temari took off into the trees to get closer to the crater. Sweden. Bakusu Shoha. Water release. Exploding water shockwave, a massive amount of water began pouring out of Kisame's mouth, turning the middle of the forest into a large lake. The water seeped into the crater, creating an eerily natural-looking lake. Sakura and Kakashi had to jump into the trees to escape from the waves and current. Don't be so quick to leave. I am more than enough to take on all three of you. Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu. Water clone technique. With that, 2 copies of Kisame appeared. That one won't get far. Pointing to Temari. Sweden. Suiryuden no Jutsu. Water release. Water dragon blast technique, all 3 Kisamis said aloud. 3 streams of water shaped like a serpentine dragons were sent whizzing after Temari. Temari, look out, Sakura yelled. Temari looked over her shoulder to see the streams of water rushing at her. A small smile formed on her face. When are people going to realize long-range attacks won't work on me? Grabbing her large fan, she swung it twice in the direction of the water. The gale force winds ripped the streams of water apart. Hold on Naruto, I am coming to help. One of the water clones jumped into the trees to follow. Kaden. Karyu Enden. Fire release. Fire dragon flame missile. A huge stream of fire burst from Kakashi's mouth and found its target on the back of the water clone, which in turn evaporated into nothingness. Gaara paced back and forth in front of the council. If only I wasn't the case cage. Then I could help Kankuro and Temari myself. But I have to think of the greater good. I have to think about the village and its well-being first. Baki broke the silence. The search teams have yet to find the trail of the Akatsuki member who escaped. I'm sorry Case Cage-sama. Baki finished with a bow. Gaara closed his eyes for a second. He knew they wouldn't be able to trail him easily. But he still had that small bit of hope. Thank you Baki for the information. Tell them to keep up the search. For now we should focus on the member we have in custody. He may be able to give us information on his fellow member, and where we might find him. What is the prisoner's condition? An older man spoke up from amongst the council. He's still in bad condition. We've been trying to get information out of him since we captured him, but the poison is like none we have ever seen. When he isn't unconscious, he is in far too much pain to speak. Whoever made this really wanted the victim to suffer. I give him 3 days before the poison will actually kill him. Out medical team is still analyzing the poison in hopes of making an antidote. Gaara's face fell slightly. Then from now on all we can do is wait. Let's hope the medical ninja from the leaf gets here in time to help. Quote, Sakura, it's going to be very hard to get you close enough to use your strength to our advantage. First off, he has an immense amount of chakra. He could probably beat Naruto with his chakra stamina. So we have to take him down quickly. That's why we have to get you in close. But we also have to be wary of his sword, it actually absorbs chakra. Quote, Sakura nodded in agreement. So you distract him with long-range attacks as I try to get close enough to land a hit? That's right, but if all our attempts fail, I will have to use my new jutsu. It is very dangerous and takes some time to prepare. Kakashi answered, looking towards Kisame, his remaining water clone regrouping with him. Let's hope it doesn't come to that then. Sakura replied. Just then Kisame disappeared into the water, leaving his clone behind. He's moving so fast under the water it's hard to keep up with his movements with the Sharingan. But I'll have to take his clone out before I go after the actual Kisame. Sweden. Suikoden no Jutsu. Water release. Water shark missile technique. A mass of water shaped like a shark came whizzing from the newly formed lake. Kakashi was the closest, but he saw where the attack was coming from and narrowly dodged the water blast. The clone rushed in to attack an off-centered Kakashi. Sakura tried to jump to a safe nearby branch, but the blast of water caught her in the stomach and she fell with a splash into the water. She struggled to regain her bearings while she held her stomach. He's fast. Out of the corner of her eye she saw him approach. He looked more fish than human swimming in the water. Sweden. Gashokuzame, water release. 5 eating sharks. 5 sharks formed in the water circling Sakura. First meal, Kisame hissed underwater. The first shark swam in and closed its jaws on Sakura's leg. With a poof, all that was left was a wooden log. 2 kunai shot through the water and narrowly missed Kisame. He looked up to see his water clone splash into the water next to him. A second splash soon followed as Kakashi hit the water. Second meal, the second shark swam in to attack Kakashi. Suddenly a fist came in contact with Kisame's stomach. He was sent flying upward and out of the water. The 3 remaining sharks disappeared and Kisame's water clone transformed into Sakura. She quickly looked over at Kakashi and nodded as they both made their way to the surface. Once they got to the top, they brought their bodies to stand on top of the water. Sakura looked up to see Kisame standing on a nearby tree branch waiting for them. Powerful punch you've got there, Missy. Knocked the wind right out of me. Can't let that happen again. Kisame yelled. Sakura looked on in shock. He took my punch full force and he was only winded? Don't be too shocked, Sakura. You punched him while in water full of his chakra. I'm guessing it acted as a cushion to lessen the damage. Kakashi added. Sakura pulled down the bottom of her gloves to readjust them. Then I'll just have to hit him while he's out of the water. She smirked. With striking speed she jumped from the water towards the tree Kisame was standing on. She struck the tree with such force it caused waves to rip through the water. The tree shattered apart and began to fall over into the water. Kisame had to jump to a nearby branch to keep his balance. Sakura began running up the back of falling tree. Kaden. Karyu Enden. A huge stream of flame burst from Kakashi's mouth. Sweden. Suiryuden no Jutsu. Kisami's stream of water met with Kakashi's flame. There was a huge explosion of hot steam. The stream of water started pushing back Kakashi's fire. He quickly stopped the jutsu and jumped to a nearby tree to avoid the water blast. Sakura jumped into the air as the tree finally passed the area she planned for. She swung her arm forward expecting to connect with the side of Kisame's head, but Kisame was too quick. With a stomach-turning scream of pain, Sakura plummeted to the water. Kisame looked at the now bloody scaled surface of his sword. Sakura landed with a splash in the water. She struggled to the surface holding her right arm from the pain. The water was tinged red as she finally dragged herself onto a nearby rock, debris from the earlier explosion. Hurts, doesn't it? Samahata is not like a regular sword. It is not meant to cut. It is meant to shave. Kisame said maniacally. Sakura could barely stand to look at her arm. A huge area of skin and even some muscle were completely shaved off. She brought her shaking hand to hover over the wound and a soothing green light lit the area. Muscle and skin began growing back until eventually you wouldn't know she sustained the wound she had. Ah, you're the medical ninja. I wonder how many more times you can heal yourself. Especially after you so graciously donated some of your chakra to Samahata. Sakura could feel it. She had barely used any chakra in this fight and she was already feeling strained. Damn, that sword is really dangerous. How are we supposed to get close enough to disarm or hit him? A shuriken flew towards Kisame. With a flick of his sword he deflected it and it stuck to the trunk of the tree behind him. The tag on the shuriken exploded with a huge fireball. Kisame disappeared in a puff of steam. Another water clone? Then where is? Before he finished he spotted Kisame under the water heading straight for Sakura. Sakura, he's under the water, Kakashi shouted. She jumped onto a nearby tree branch. Kisame jumped from beneath the water onto the branch Sakura was on. With a quick swing he narrowly missed her back. Sakura flipped over the sword and landed on her hand. With a twist she swung her body around and kicked at Kisame's legs. Kisame jumped into the air to avoid her swing only to come face to face with Kakashi. Chidori, With amazing speed the lighting blade cut into Kisame's left arm. With an angry scream Kisame fell back into the water. Good hit Kakashi-sensei. Sakura smiled at her former teacher as he landed next to her. He is really good. He twisted away enough to save his arm from being completely cut off. But the lighting should have at least paralyzed his movement somewhat. Kakashi took a deep breath. I can't keep this up much longer. I don't have the chakra to keep going at this rate for very long. I know what you're thinking, Kakashi-sensei. We need to finish this now. A look of determination was set on Sakura's face. Wish a splash Kisame burst from beneath the water. He stood gracefully on the water. That lighting attack is quite impressive. You will regret that. You will learn the meaning of pain. Mizu Bunshin no Jutsu. Kisame created 5 water clones. All 6 Kisames jumped into the trees after the 2-leaf shinobi. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Another Kakashi appeared. I don't have enough chakra to make any more. I need to make this count. The clone of Kakashi brought out 4 kunai in each hand, and threw them into the oncoming clones. 2 water clone burst into water. Sakura meanwhile stood in a battle stance ready to receive the coming onslaught. The remaining 5 Kisames brandished their swords ready to strike. The first clone to get close enough swung Samahata and managed to take out Kakashi's clone. Another clone went for Sakura. She quickly jumped backwards off the branch, reached forward, and grabbed the branch as she fell. With a swinging motion she kicked forward, and hit one of Kisame's clones in the face. The remaining clone grabbed Sakura's ankles and threw her into the boulder on the ground. Kakashi used a well-placed punch to the stomach to kill off another water clone. But this left him open and the real Kisame used this opening to hit Kakashi square in chest with his sword. The sword tore at Kakashi's flesh and he was sent flying back into the trunk of a tree. Kisame focused his attention back on Sakura. His clone quickly moved in. Suiro no Jutsu. Water prison technique. The clone trapped Sakura in a bubble of water. The real Kisame walked up to the trapped girl. You guys really are no match for me. Your friend Temari and your precious Naruto are probably already defeated. You're nothing. I will enjoy this. Kisame poked his sword into the bubble and it slid in effortlessly. He brought it to Sakura's right arm, and began slowly moving back and forth in a sawing motion. The sword began digging into her skin, slowly shaving off layers of skin and muscle. Sakura cried out in pain and the area began to glow green lightly. The skin and muscle began growing, pushing the sword back. Then the light went out. You forget. Samahata steals your chakra. You won't be able to heal yourself, you'll just have to suffer thought the pain. Kisame smirked, once again digging the sword into Sakura's arm. She screamed out in pain. Behind Kisame's Sakura saw Kakashi. His eyes were closed but he soon opened them to reveal that something was defiantly new. His Sharingan looked different. Kisame dug the sword into her arm deeper and he had just reached the bone it happened. With a sickening pop Kisame's right arm and sword disappeared and a kunai whipped forward and took out the remaining water clone holding Sakura captive. Sakura fell to the ground with a thud. Weakly she reached with her left hand and began healing her right arm. Kisame meanwhile howled in pain, clutching where his right arm used to be. What the fuck did you do to me? Kisame screamed, wheeling around to look at Kakashi. What did you do to Samahata? Blood from his wound began to cover the ground around him. My new Sharingan can warp space and time. I teleported your sword and right arm to another dimension. You will never see it again. With that Kakashi collapsed from his own weight. He was completely drained of chakra. Kisame howled in anger and ran at Kakashi. He picked him up by the neck with his good arm. Kakashi could do nothing to stop him. I'll break your fucking neck. Kisame tightened his grip on Kakashi's neck, completely ignoring his blood-drenched right side. But before he could finish him off, a kunai was shoved deeply into his left arm. Kakashi fell from Kisame's grip and landed on the ground. Kisame turned around to face Sakura. With one swift punch she hit him square in the chest. Wide-eyed, he went flying back into a giant boulder. When he hit there was a sickening crack and he fell forward in a lump onto the ground. Kakashi-sensei. Sakura wobbled forward to kneel by him. She rolled him over and realized the damage to his stomach. With shaking hands she hovered them over his stomach and the green light showered the wound. Soon the muscles and skin began to reappear and grow back. Sweat slid down the side of Sakura's face but she did not have the energy or the time to wipe it away. Almost there. Using the last of her chakra, she finished closing the wound. Exhausted, she tried to stand back up but failed. Her vision was becoming blurry. Shit, I used too much chakra, healing myself and Kakashi. At least, we beat him, sensei. That was her final though before she passed out next to her teacher. Doing useless things again, Naruto? Naruto turned around, eyes wide with a mixture of anger, fear, and surprise etched on his face. The red aura of chakra around his body began to fade away. There stood a man with piercing red eyes. Sasuke? Naruto had to do a double take to make sure he wasn't seeing things. But there he was, standing right in front of him. His hair was slightly longer, which emphasized the fact that he was still missing his Konoha forehead protector. He now wore a loose open shirt, with a rope belt holding up his dark blue pants. A long katana was slipped under the rope belt. His face had aged slightly, becoming shaper and more defined. But his piercing red eyes were the same as Naruto remembered them from their last fight. Only now they were distant and cold. He couldn't help but shiver, feeling Sasuke was looking right through him. Your presence is no longer required here. This is my fight. If you stand in my way, I will kill you. Sasuke spoke with a cold hiss. Naruto couldn't think of anything to say. Finding and saving Sasuke has been his goal for over 3 years. Yet hearing him now made him question as to whether Sasuke could be saved. If you have no problem with the idea of killing me, Naruto looked down at his feet, fighting back the tears of anger and intense emotions. Then why didn't you kill me back then? He finished with a hoarse yell. Despite what you may think, I have no intention of killing anyone other than Uchiha Itachi. I do not want to kill you, but if you get in the way of this objective, it does not matter who you are. I will strike down anyone that blocks my path. So I ask you again, move aside or die. I would be a disgrace as a ninja and your friend if I moved aside now. So it looks like I chose to die, Sasuke. Naruto growled. Sasuke calmly drew his sword and it sparked with electricity. With one swift motion, his sword slashed at Naruto's chest. With a poof, Naruto's shadow clone disappeared. Geez, I have to watch out. If I get hit by that sword, the electricity will mostly likely paralyze my movement. Sasuke meanwhile looked around the crater, then to the trees behind him. Found him. With a flick of his finger, a stream of pure electrical energy shot towards Naruto's hiding spot. Naruto barely had time to dodge. He jumped down out of the tree to face Sasuke once more. You were foolish to let the power of that demon chakra leave you. You couldn't beat me last time even with that power. Naruto growled in response. I don't need to rely on that power to beat you. I'll win. Naruto looked down at his shaking hands. With my own hands. Rasengan. Chidori. The two ran at each other, attacks raised. Each couldn't help but feel a sense of déjà vu. The two collide with a blast of light. The force of the impact was intense. Suddenly the light vanished and Sasuke was sent flying backwards into the crater. Naruto fell forward with nothing to stop his forward momentum. Where Sasuke once stood was Uchiha Itachi. You will not interfere. I am here for the Jinchuriki. Not worthless trash like you. Naruto jumped to his feet, undaunted by his change in target. He formed another Rasengan in his hand but made a fatal mistake when he looked up to find his mark. His world went black. Sasuke wiped the trail of blood from the corner of his mouth with the back of his hand. Why won't he just accept that I've left? My only feeling is hatred. My only purpose is revenge. He jumped back up to the crater's edge only to see Naruto frozen in place, feet from Itachi, with a look of terror on his face. Itachi was slowly advancing on him. A feeling long considered extinguished shot through Sasuke's chest. He would never admit it, even to himself, but he did not want Itachi to hurt Naruto. Acting more out of instinct and feeling, Sasuke jumped over Itachi, landing a kick to the side of his head as he passed. He landed on the ground and punched Naruto in the stomach. Naruto knew he was in Itachi's genjutsu, but that didn't make the pain any less real. If he wasn't being tortured for hours at a time, he was reliving every horrible moment of his childhood. The spiteful looks on the town people's face, the young kids always ignoring him or beating him up. The feeling of being alone with no family. Naruto just wanted to die. Death would be better than this torture. He thought his prayers had been answered when he felt a sharp pain in his stomach. But his eyes slowly focused and he was back in the real world. He looked around carefully to reevaluate his situation. Sasuke was now standing a few feet in front of him while Itachi was a few feet behind that, brining himself to his feet. This battle. I've been waiting for it since that day. Sasuke turned back to Naruto with a strange expression on his face. Don't you get it? This is why I left. I left to ready myself for this fight. This is my destiny. Please Naruto, do not interfere. Sasuke. Naruto rasped, bring himself into a sitting position. Sasuke turned back to Itachi. Don't worry Itachi. If you can kill me then you can finish your objective. But that will never happen, Itachi sighed. If you are so quick to rush to death I will not stop you. Sasuke ran at Itachi's sword drawn. Sword met kunai with a loud clang. Temari was starting to get worried. Where did they go? If I don't find them quick. Naruto could. She really didn't want to think about it. Then a bright flash caught her eye. They must be over there. With that she raced after the bright light. She was surprised to see the scene before her. Sasuke was actually standing between Itachi and Naruto. She heard Naruto say something unintelligible to Sasuke, who simply turned back to Itachi. Don't worry Itachi. If you can kill me then you can finish your objectives. But that will never happen, Itachi sighed. If you are so quick to rush to death I will not stop you. Sasuke ran at Itachi's sword drawn. Sword met kunai with a loud clang. Temari circled around to try and get to Naruto without being spotted by the two Uchiha. Once she was relatively sure she was out of their field of vision she ran to help Naruto. Naruto slowly pulled himself into a sitting position. His vision was still a little blurry. He looked down at his feet with a blank stare on his face. Is this really all I have? My body feels so numb. Like I've been fighting for days. One attack. I won't let myself be beaten by one genjutsu. With his last bit of willpower he brought himself to his feet. A little bit of blood trickled out of the corner of his mouth. He heard the sound of footsteps coming from behind him and turned to see Temari running to him. Naruto. Naruto, are you okay? You're bleeding, she gasped, finally noticing the blood dripping from his chin. He flashed her his trademark grin. Don't worry about me. It will take more than this to take me down. But you should have stayed with Sakura and Kakashi, it's not safe for you here. You were after all their first target until we came. Here I was risking my life and worrying about you and all you can say is you shouldn't have come? I am a ninja too you know, and a damn good one. You have a real way with words Naruto. Temari huffed in response. Sorry? I didn't mean it that way. Naruto rubbed the top of his head sheepishly. Just then he heard a scream come from behind him. Both Naruto and Temari turned around quickly, see pitch black flames burning on the ground, consuming everything around it. It was a haunting sight. Laying on the ground near the flames was Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke. Wait! Temari screamed as Naruto ran over to Sasuke. Sasuke looked up at Naruto, confusion etched on his pained face. Am I still not strong enough to beat Itachi? The Mangekyo Sharingan is so. Did I make the wrong choice? Has this all been for nothing? Naruto reached down to help Sasuke up but was stopped when he felt a pain in his stomach. More blood began to trickle out of the corner of his mouth. His vision once again began to blur. He looked down and noticed a burned hole in his shirt where the Kyuubi's seal was. On the seal were 6 new red marks. He tried to stay conscious but everything sounded far away. He could hear Temari yelling but it sounded muffled. He saw Sasuke looking at him with wide eyes, trying to bring himself back to his feet. He fell to his knees and looked forward to see Itachi bringing his hand back to his side. Then he fell forward and everything went black for a second time. It was too late, she could do nothing but watch as Naruto fell once again at the hands of Itachi. Naruto? Naruto! She screamed, as Itachi walked towards Naruto. Stop yelling, girl. He can't respond. I've effectively shut off the flow of chakra in his body. This seal blocks chakra over a period of time. Depending on the strength of the chakra, the length of time before the chakra fully stops will differ. His chakra is strong but still much weaker than the Kyuubi's, so it will stop in maybe an hour. The Kyuubi's chakra, however, will take days, maybe even a month to fully stop. Once the Jinchuriki's chakra has stopped flowing, he will die but continue to live with the chakra from the Kyuubi, leaving him nothing but a literal container for the Kyuubi. It will be so easy to extract that way, he said menacingly. Temari, filled with rage, grabbed her fan and swung it at Itachi a few times. He jumped back a few feet to avoid the razor-sharp wind. You do nothing but waste your own chakra and endanger your own life," Itachi stated, looking coldly at Temari. "Itachi," a strange voice said, seemingly coming from nowhere. All of a sudden a man surrounded by what seemed to be a Venus flytrap raised up from the ground. "What is it, Zetsu? Can you not see I am busy with the Kyuubi? He is my target after all. Yes, I do apologize. But Kisame is dead, I have already disposed of his corpse. I was about to dispose of the two passed out leaf ninja, but there is a problem. Pain has ordered an emergency meeting. We must go immediately." Itachi sighed. "I will be back soon for the Jinchuriki. Or what's left of him." With that Itachi grabbed onto Zetsu's shoulder and the two seemed to melt into the ground. "Damn you!" Temari yelled, running to where the two disappeared into the ground, but she was too late. She whirled around back to where Naruto was laying face down on the ground. She ran over to him and turned him over on his back. She saw the burned hole in his shirt and the strange seal on his stomach. "I've seen a seal similar to that one," Sasuke said from next to Naruto. She jumped in surprise. She had almost forgotten he was here. Orochimaru used a seal similar to this on Naruto during the Chunin exams. Luckily Orochimaru taught me how to use both the seal and the unseal. But they differ slightly. If I use the Gogyu Kaien, 5-element unseal, on a 6-element seal it might work, but I may also weaken the original seal as well," Sasuke said quietly. "Who cares right now? If we don't do anything Naruto's chakra will stop and heal." Temari trailed off. "You're right." Sasuke closed his eyes in concentration. "It's funny though. Sasuke must placing his fingers over the Kyuubi's seal. I left the Leaf Village and vowed to leave all my bonds behind." His fingers began to glow a brilliant blue color. "But here I am, unable to watch my old friend die. I guess this is what makes me different than my brother. I can't shed my weakness fully. Gogyu Kaien." With that his hands flashed and the new marks disappeared. But the original seal seemed to fade a little in color. Sasuke closed his eyes as if meditating. He felt a sudden surge of chakra he wasn't expecting. "I don't know why you call bonds a weakness. You would be a weak monster to try and leave your bonds, your humanity behind. Haven't you seen how hard Naruto fights to get you back? Is that proof enough?" When Sasuke opened his eyes, Temari noticed that they looked slightly different. Sasuke seemed shocked himself. "What? But how? This can't be." "But," Itachi said, "the only way to get them was to kill your best friend. Is there more than one way to achieve Mangekyo Sharingan? What if you saved your best friend?" He ran to a nearby puddle and looked at his reflection. "There is no denying, that's the Mangekyo Sharingan." Naruto slowly opened his eyes, letting them readjust to the light. "Naruto? Naruto, thank God you're coming too," Temari said thankfully, kneeling down next to him. Naruto brought himself slowly into a sitting position. He grabbed his stomach in pain. "Be careful not move too quickly. I'm not sure if you remember, but Itachi used a sealing jutsu on your—" She paused for a moment, not really wanting to say out loud what she now knew. "That was a strong jutsu." But right after, another Akatsuki member called him away. "We thought you were going to die. The only reason you're still alive is because Sasuke." "Sasuke?" Naruto interrupted, jumping to his feet, only to fall back into a sitting position from the pain. "I told you not to move quickly, you idiot. Here, take this." Temari placed a small pill in Naruto's hand. Naruto sheepishly took the food pill and ate it. "Yes, Sasuke did save you. But after he saved you, something weird happened and his eyes changed. Then he ran off, I am guessing after Itachi. He told me to thank you, and that he'll be back as soon as he could." Naruto was having a hard time processing this information. Sasuke wanted to thank me? What the hell is going on here? He just sat there quiet for a few moments. "Thank you, for watching over me, and for coming after me when I ran off to face Itachi alone. Are you holding up okay?" Naruto said, breaking the silence. Temari blushed. She was a bit surprised at the ninja's thanks and concern. "Why yeah, although I am a bit tired. It took me a while to find Sakura and Kakashi." Naruto was instantly on edge again. "Where are they? Are they okay?" Naruto looked around and saw them lying under a nearby tree, apparently unconscious. He was a bit embarrassed, he didn't think of their safety earlier. They've both sustained serious injuries, but luckily Sakura was able to heal herself and Kakashi relatively well. But I can only guess that she did this with very little chakra and an unclear mind, because some of the wounds weren't healed correctly. I was able to bandage them up, but as soon as you're ready to go we should really carry them to my village for proper medical care." Naruto smirked, he couldn't help but be impressed. "What's so funny?" Temari huffed. "I'm just really impressed. You just seem to have thought of everything. What would we have done without you?" Naruto said. "You don't even want to think about it." Temari joked back. Naruto jumped up onto his feet, finally feeling the effects of the food pill. His stomach still hurt a bit, but he could deal with the pain. "I guess we should head out. We are on a mission after all." "Yeah, I guess we should." Temari was a bit saddened. Since the beginning of the fight up until now she had really forgotten about all of her problems other than what lay directly ahead of her. They still had to save her brother. The sand is probably a day's travel from here. We still have a ways to go. Temari said, gathering her things. "Then let's get started." Naruto yelled excitedly, pointing to the horizon. "The other way, Naruto." Temari laughed. Naruto's gaze was cast on the ground. He yawned for what felt like the 100th time. He slowly ran a hand through his hair. A shifting noise to his left brought him back to reality. "Where am I?" Sakura whispered to no one in particular. "You're in a hospital room in Sanagakure," Naruto said in reply with a light-hearted voice. The unexpected response caused Sakura to straighten up in the bed and look towards Naruto. "Naruto, you're okay. What happened? How did we get here? How long have I been out? Where is Kakashi-sensei?" she asked, stumbling over her words. Naruto let out a soft chuckle. "You've been out for about a day. Kakashi-sensei is fine, and if you don't believe me, just look to the bed on your right." Sakura blushed slightly and looked over to find her teacher in bed, reading his trademark book. He peeked out over the top of his book and gave her a small wave. She turned back to Naruto to find him stifling a yawn. He noticed her looking and flashed her a foxy grin. But his face turned serious in the blink of an eye. "Sakura-chan, I know you just woke up and you have a lot of questions left unanswered. But those will have to wait. I was told to bring you to the intensive care room the moment you woke up," he said, standing up, brushing away the wrinkles in his pants. "What? Why?" she had to ask, even as she slowly shifted her weight and draped her legs over the side of the bed. She stretched, trying to loosen her aching muscles. Naruto's face twisted up in anger. "You have to save the man who attacked Gaara." Naruto led the way while Sakura and Kakashi followed closely behind. Sakura laughed to herself, they didn't even need to follow Naruto. She already knew their destination. It was the only medical room with 2 Suna shinobi stationed outside. Naruto nodded to them. "Our medical ninja has just woken up. She's ready to see the patient," he said with venom practically dripping of the last word. The 2 shinobi nodded as they both stepped to the side. Naruto pushed the door open and made his way inside, followed by Sakura and Kakashi. Inside were a few Suna doctors and nurses going over what appeared to be test results, talking in hushed voices. In the center of the room was an operating table. On the table was very a pale, unmoving form. The entrance of the 3 Konoha nin did not go unnoticed. "Ah, one of you must be the medical shinobi from the Leaf Village?" the man asked, pushing his glasses farther up on the bridge of his nose. Sakura nodded and walked forward towards the body. "This poison is like nothing we have ever seen before. We have been able to find out practically nothing about how to stop the poison's effects on the body. We have, however, managed to name quite a bit of the ingredients used in the poison itself," he explained. Sakura nodded, walking over to the body. She placed one hand on his head and one on his stomach. She slowly closed her eyes, then opened them wide. "He hasn't got that much time left. I am going to need to siphon as much of the poison out as I can manually. But we are still going to need to find an antibody for the poison itself. I want you to go to your greenhouse and collect me a few plants." She quickly told a nearby nurse the items she needed and then turned back to the patient. Her hands began to glow a light green and she placed them over the body. Little bubbles of chakra began to rise from the body with droplets of what appeared to be pure poison in middle. "I need a sanitized bowl to put this in," she yelled over her shoulder. A scrambling nurse ran over with a bowl. Naruto slumped himself down in a nearby chair and leaned his head back against the wall. Kakashi simply leaned against the wall, still reading his book. "I never got how you could always read that book even during a time like this." Naruto scolded at his teacher. "Well, it is easier than staying up all day and night worrying next to a hospital bed," Kakashi added thoughtfully, bringing a slight blush to Naruto's cheeks. Sakura sighed. Most of the poison has been removed. She reached her arm up and wiped some sweat from her brow. Now we just have to wait for the plants to make the remedy. I don't know how much longer this guy can survive. He has gone so long without any treatment. She was surprised to hear Naruto speak. His gaze never left the ceiling. No loss. He was a member of Akatsuki after all. Who cares if he lives or dies? He stated in an unusually cold voice. Naruto, I am surprised at you. I thought you would have realized the strategic benefits of capturing a live enemy. He might know where they brought Kankuro. Maybe even where their base is. You are making this too personal. Naruto quickly stood up, knocking the chair he was just sitting on to the ground. Yeah, maybe I am taking this a little too personal. So what if this guy tried to kill Gaara? So what if his partner kidnapped Temari-chan's brother? So what if a member of their group killed my best friend's whole clan? So what if they want to kill me? We should save them, he yelled sarcastically. He stormed from the room, leaving a rather stunned Sakura and Kakashi behind. As he walked back towards the hospital room, he saw a few nurses with baskets of plants run past the guards into the room. He opened the door to the room and sat back down in the chair he had been sitting in for the past 24 hours. It still felt a little warm. He closed his eyes and tried to lower his heart rate. Hey, Naruto just came to check in on. Temari stopped as she opened the door and noticed that only Naruto was in the room. Where are? In the intensive care room. I took her there as soon as she woke up. Like requested, he responded without opening his eyes. Why aren't you with them? She asked slowly, walking into the room. To be honest, I really don't know. I just saw the body. And got so angry. He trailed off, unable to really put into words how he felt right now. Well, you haven't even slept since we got here. You're probably just irritable because you haven't slept in what? 3 days altogether. Naruto finished for her. She sighed and took a seat next to him on the empty bed. Listen, I know how you feel. That scumbag in there tried to kill both of my brothers. Trust me, I don't like this any more than you do. But I understand how valuable this man is alive. He may have been one of the causes of this problem. But he may turn out to be the solution if he can give us any valuable information on his partner or Akatsuki. I know deep down you know this too. You idiot, she said, punching him lightly in the arm. Naruto's lips curled into a small smile as he continued to stare at the ceiling with his eyes closed. I know. Hey, who are you calling an idiot? Now we just have to wait a few moments to see if the mixture was right. Sakura leaned back, sweat dripping down her forehead. She placed the needle back down on a table next to her. She turned to the doctors and they nodded. She looked back at the man to see him shivering slightly. The shivering calmed down and the man took in a deep breath. His eyes shot open and he brought himself into a sitting position. Quickly alert the guards that patient has woken up. They'll bring the news to the case cage. How are you feeling? Sakura asked, placing a hand on the mont's forehead. W-A-T-E-R, he gasped, knocking her hand away. A nurse quickly ran up with a cup full of water and handed it to the man. He ripped it from her hand and downed it in one gulp. You people are fucking incompetent. You almost let me die. There was a growl and soon the man was sent flying back into the wall. He hit with a loud bang and coughed up a little blood. Naruto stood next to the bed where the man had just been. Nobody had even seen him come into the room. You're lucky you're even still alive at all. If it were up to me, you would be dead. Now where is your partner? He snarled, walking menacingly over to the weak, huddled man now on the floor. Naruto, stop it, Sakura yelled. If Naruto heard, he simply did not respond and kept making his way toward the man. He picked up the man by his neck and asked again, where did your partner take Kankuro? The man he was questioning just laughed a bit. You must be the container of the Kyuubi. Itachi said he was a weak Laudem. He never finished that sentence because a fist connected with the front of his face, sending his head back, hitting the wall behind them. Blood splashed on Naruto's jacket. That's not the answer to the question I asked. Where can we find your partner? He asked again with a small glint in his eye. Blood was pouring from the man's nose. He laughed again, even though it caused him to cough up a little more blood. My, don't we have a temper? It was Naruto's turn to smirk. He leaned in and whispered something into the mont's ear. His eyes widened in shock and horror. I don't know where he is right now. But I do know he is meeting with a spy he has in Orochimaru Council on the 15th. On the border between the hidden village of Sound and the hidden village in the clouds at sunset. He whimpered. Naruto let go of the man and let him slump to the ground holding his neck. That's today. There is no way we can make it in time. We were too late. I have a group of Jonin shinobi searching in the sound. If I can send a high-speed hawk to them, they may be able to make the meeting. Came a familiar voice. Naruto turned to see Gaara standing there with Temari next to him. A strange calm came over Naruto. Gaara whispered something to one of the nearby guards. He nodded and left in a hurry. Now all we can do is wait. And while we wait, I wish to speak with the three of you, please. Gaara asked, looking in the direction of the three-leaf shinobi. Sakura still seemed a bit shaken from what just went on. But she nodded. Kakashi placed his book back in its hiding place and nodded. Guards, please escort the prisoner to his new accommodations. The case cage ordered. 2 guards walked over and propped the bleeding man up and took him out of the room. Now if you would please follow me. Gaara motioned the 3 to follow him. So one member of Akatsuki is dead. And another is safely captured. I admire your strength. It's too bad that Itachi got away, but understandable with the circumstances. I am also worried about this emergency meeting Itachi was called to. Gaara pondered out loud after hearing about the battles. Naruto simply stared at his feet. Before I forget, I would also like to thank you for keeping my sister safe. Temari huffed, muttering something along the lines of she didn't need the help and she did most of the saving. It has been a long day for all of us. You can stay in the guest rooms if you wish to get some rest. When word gets back from my team in the sound, we will alert you all. He walked over to the window to look out over the village of sand. Naruto just sighed and walked out of the room without a word to the rest of the group. Sakura and Kakashi looked at each other with unreadable faces. Temari made her way out of the room quickly, excusing herself. She made her way out of the room, and looked behind to make sure the other 2 were not behind her. She turned back satisfied they were still in the room and ran after Naruto. She turned a few corners and saw him about to turn into one of the guest rooms. Naruto! She shouted at the boy to make him stop. He rolled his eyes and turned to her. He knew what was coming. What happened in there? Why didn't you tell them about Sasuke? Or about the weakening of the Kyuubi seal? Why didn't you? He retorted. She made a move as if to speak, but nothing came out. I thought so. I am going to go get some rest like everyone keeps telling me to. He yawned, opening the door. She reached out and grabbed his hand to stop him. Naruto, I am worried about you. I know you're tired, but... Naruto hesitated for a moment but didn't turn to face her. He eventually continued to open the door and slid inside, reluctantly pulling his hand from hers. Please go away and let me sleep, he said, shutting the door behind him. Temari was fuming. She was just trying to help the stupid brat. Fine, if that's how it is going to be. She turned around and walked a few steps only to bump into a very pissed off looking Sakura. Care to explain what that was about? She said quietly, but there was still an odd intensity to her words. Depends. Temari said hotly, not backing down from a fight to a girl younger than herself. How much did you hear? Enough to know that you and Naruto didn't tell us what really happened when we separated. And what was that about Sasuke? Spill. Temari sighed. She didn't want to be the one to have to explain it to the girl. That was supposed to be Naruto's job. Little punk. But he hasn't really been himself. Okay, look, princess. When Naruto was fighting Itachi, he used a sealing technique on Naruto's original seal to slowly cut off his chakra flow. Itachi was called away to some emergency meeting, leaving Naruto slowly dying. But Sasuke didn't run after Itachi right away. He stayed behind and used a technique to take off the seal Itachi made. But he didn't know the exact unsealed technique. So while he may have safely removed Itachi's technique, it weakened the original seal. Sakura didn't really know what to say. Geez, Naruto, why didn't you tell me that Sasuke saved you? This is huge, she asked herself out loud. Who knows, maybe he's ashamed he lost, or maybe he doesn't want to get your hopes up. She replied to an obviously rhetorical question, somewhat angry that the girl's first response wasn't about the safety of her other teammate. He should know that the Kyuubi's seal weakening is a big deal we all need to know about too. And that stupid jerk knows I would want to know any information, good or bad, about Sasuke. She said, advancing menacingly to the room she saw Naruto disappear into. A slap rang out in the halls and Sakura brought a hand up to touch her pink cheek. That stupid jerk spent all night and day waiting next to your bed for you to wake up, she said, a little more sourly than she probably thought she sounded. Let him rest, he hasn't slept in 3 days. Rip him a new one tomorrow. Just leave him be for now. Sakura just looked at her feet and slowly walked to a nearby guest room and shut the door. What the hell is with everyone walking away without saying anything today? Temari yelled to no one in particular. Naruto woke to the sound of rapid footsteps and the door ripping open. Temari ran in. Naruto, we have word back from the Jonin shinobi stationed in the sound. Gaara said it was important. She spoke in a rushed voice, motioning for the boy to follow her. He moaned and rolled out of bed. He looked down and realized his jacket was covered in more blood. He heard a gasp as he reached up to his lip and felt it slightly wet with blood. Apparently he had bitten down hard on his lip in his sleep. He swore under his breath and discarded the jacket after he wiped the rest of the blood off. He was left wearing his baggy black pants and a black short sleeve shirt. Temari quickly looked away, not knowing what to say. "You okay?" she asked awkwardly. "Yeah, I'm fine thanks," he responded just as awkwardly. They made their way quickly to the Cage's office without speaking another word. When they walked in, they saw Sakura and Kakashi already there. The Cage's face was rigid. Gaara turned to face the window. Our shinobi were able to make it to the meeting place, but they were too late. Everyone in the room gasped. Temari seemed to stiffen a bit. At the site, they found signs of a battle and the dead body of the Akatsuki member known as Sasori. He had visible snake bite wounds. We believe his own double agent double-crossed him and told Orochimaru of the meeting. He laughed bitterly at the irony. Kankuro was nowhere to be found. This will be the third day without medicine for the poison. He was cut off by a very angry Temari. So just what are you trying to say? They didn't find a body. We have to keep searching, he may still be alive. She yelled quite frantically. It was very unlike Temari to lose her composure. Let me finish. I doubt Sasori would kill the hostage he captured to draw me out. My guess is Sasori already turned him over to the rest of Akatsuki. They also have an antidote to the poison, so now that he is in their territory they probably used it. But I'm not sure at this point I can convince the council to continue a wide-scale search and rescue. He turned back just to hunch over from a strong punch to the stomach. Maybe that will knock some sense back into you. Giving up on your brother so easily, Naruto growled, trying to hold back his anger. Gaara straightened up and looked at the shinobi's face with a puzzled look. Naruto, you do realize you just attacked the Cage. What is wrong with you lately? Ever since we got to the sand Sakura yelled as she walked forward to face Naruto. It was then she noticed the blood slowly leaking down his chin. He noticed her gaze and fiercely tried to wipe the blood away. Is it just me, or do Naruto's canines look longer? Sakura thought. I don't know what's wrong with me. All of this, everything, it's just making me so angry. Then everything seemed to click into place. When Sasuke removed the 6 elemental seal, he accidentally made the original one weaker, right? Maybe all this anger is from the Kyuubi. Maybe it is leaking through the weakened seal. So you know about Sasuke, huh? He said in a rather odd tone, completely ignoring her hypothesis for the moment. Temari froze in position. She wouldn't. Yeah, I found out. No thanks to you. You should have told me. Temari seemed to relax in the background. And me, Kakashi added sternly. Look, I know you were trying to protect me by not explaining. But this is something I need to know. Something your team needs to know. Sakura added. Naruto let out a laugh. It almost sounded sad. I didn't do it to protect your feelings. I did it to protect mine. He mumbled. Only Temari, the closest, heard exactly what he said. We have to keep an eye on that seal, Naruto. I will have to research and see if we can strengthen the. He was cut off by Naruto. I already know how to strengthen and weaken the seal. He growled. It was part of my training with Jiraiya. Only Jiraiya-sensei has the item needed and the ability to strengthen this seal. Kakashi nodded slowly. Then once we return to the leaf, we'll have to make contact with Jiraiya-sama. If anything changes in the meantime, you have to tell us right away. But back to business, he stated, turning back to the cage. Gaara cleared his throat. The council will not let me continue with a large-scale search and rescue. But I feel it will not be required anyway. Akatsuki's target was not my family. Nor is the shinobi I sent in search of Kankuro. They want me. They want to drag me out in the open. So it is safe to assume that they will contact us. I would like to ask the continued help of your team, Kakashi. That is until the time comes that all of our elite Jonin and other ninja have returned from the search, or until this issue is resolved. Of course Kage-sama. Our mission was to help the sand in any way with this crisis. Kakashi responded. Gaara smiled at the man. Konoha's kindness will one day be repaid, I swear it. For now, sadly all we can do is once again wait for any intelligence. A light knock on the door was enough to once again wake Naruto from his second nap in 3 days. It was dark outside, but he wasn't sure if it was just past dinner or near morning. Let me go back to sleep. There was another knock, then another. Finally he gave in. Fine, come in. The door swung open and in came Temari. She looked to the bed and saw him facing the window away from her. Naruto didn't even move to get out of bed. I just came to apologize, she said rather uncomfortably. One could tell she didn't apologize very often. Don't worry about. She was going to find out anyway. He stated slowly. She walked closer to the bed. Not that I really care, she said, trying not to show interest. But why didn't you tell Sakura about Sasuke and your seal? And you know I couldn't have told them. She added the last part quickly, remembering his last retort. She heard the boy sigh. I'm a freak with a monster sealed inside. Who would pick that over the last of a great bloodline? He all but whispered. Temari was almost unaware of the jealousy and anger that shot through her. Almost. I worked so hard to bring him back and every chance I got I blew it. Now he saves my life and looks like more of a hero. While I start to lose control of the Kyuubi inside me and look more like that monster. Sasuke is like a brother to me, but I almost don't want him back at the same time. If he returned, Konoha would have its prized Uchiha back. Everything would go back to the way it was before. Naruto wanted to turn away from the light touch on his shoulder, but right now it felt so needed. That wouldn't happen, idiot, and you're not becoming the Kyuubi. You even said you will be able to re-strengthen the seal. You really shouldn't worry so much. Stop letting what other people think of you influence your decisions. You are who you are, and if you continue to do the selfless, kind things that I have seen you do, people will come around. Things would be different, but in a good way. Now stop being so depressing. Even I don't have PMS this bad. Angry 1 second, sad the next. Talk about mood swings. She laughed. Naruto jumped out of bed yelling something about never having had PMS. Temari laughed even harder, running from the room, followed closely by Naruto. Get back here. Never. She yelled over her shoulder, jumping out a nearby window onto the roof of the Hokage's building. Naruto followed suit, running across the rooftop to catch her. Right when he reached the highest part of the roof, Naruto took a running jump and managed to catch onto Temari's arm. But he stopped suddenly and she was jerked backwards. She fell right on top of him. He rubbed the back of his head where it hit the roof and looked up at her, blushing slightly. She looked down to the man under her and quickly got up and sat down on the roof next to him. You okay? She asked, still laughing a bit. She needed a good laugh. Yeah, I'm fine. But I think you may have squished my spleen. She slapped him playfully over the head. Considering you probably don't even know what a spleen is, let it slide. She laughed once again at his slightly red face. She looked to the horizon to see the sun start to make its first appearance. So it is early morning, Naruto yawned, casting his eyes in the direction of the rising sun. Sunrises look pretty cool in Suna actually, he thought to himself as he looked out over the horizon. Everything seemed to be slowly catching on fire as the morning orange light of the sun hit the sand around the village. He finally registered an unfamiliar weight on his shoulder and looked down to find a mess of blonde hair resting on his shoulder. He could hear her shallow breathing and realized she must be asleep. She must have never gone to bed. He slowly put his arm around her shoulder and she unconsciously leaned in closer. I'll just stay and watch the sunrise a bit longer. That's all for now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.